A service dog wouldn't stop barking at a woman carrying a baby through the airport, leaving its handler embarrassed and drawing annoyed stares from travelers. But when the officer noticed the infant hadn't moved at all, everything changed. And what they uncovered next left the entire terminal frozen in shock. Now, before we get into today's story, drop a comment below telling us where in the world you're watching from. And if you love amazing police dog stories like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what's coming next. The blizzard outside Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport had turned the normally busy Terminal D into a scene of controlled chaos. Flight cancellations scrolled endlessly across departure boards as stranded travelers crowded every seat, their frustrations as clear as the smell of overpriced coffee and worry. Officer Melissa Rodriguez adjusted her uniform collar, still warm from the employee cafeteria where she'd grabbed a quick lunch between security checks. At her side, Luna walked silently, her German Shepherd's posture perfectly calm despite the noise around them. Unlike most K-9 units trained for drugs or explosives, Luna had a rare skill. She was trained to read human behavior, a talent that had helped stop security threats before they happened. They'd almost reached the international baggage claim when Rodriguez noticed the first change in Luna's behavior, a slight stiffness in her walk, ears perking up like radar locking onto a signal. The tension in Luna's body grew, a soft whine starting in her throat. This wasn't her usual alert for threats. This was different. Something Rodriguez had only seen once before. Luna's whine grew deeper, her body now rigid with focus. Rodriguez frowned, trying to understand. A businessman with suspicious bulges in his luggage would have been a normal target for a security dog. But Luna's attention was locked onto a well-dressed woman in her 30s, her expensive travel clothes still neat despite the chaos, gently rocking a sleeping baby in her arms. Luna's alert turned into a low growl, vibrating through her body. Nearby travelers stepped back nervously, creating space around them. "Ma'am, is your dog okay?" Airport security supervisor Martin Nez approached with a frown. "We're already dealing with enough stress today from all these cancellations." Rodriguez was about to answer when Luna's behavior suddenly got worse. The growl turned into loud, sharp barks that echoed through the terminal. Phones came up instantly. Passengers started filming. The disruption grew as Rodriguez felt her professional calm slipping. "Luna, stand down." She ordered more firmly, embarrassment flooding her face as the barking continued. But beneath the embarrassment came a growing certainty. This wasn't a false alarm or an overwhelmed reaction to the crowd. This specific pattern of behavior, this intense focus on a woman and child, Rodriguez had seen it exactly once before, on the case that had defined both their careers. Across the terminal, the well-dressed woman's expression shifted from confused to alarmed. She clutched the sleeping baby closer to her chest, her eyes darting toward the nearest exit as Luna's barking grew more urgent with each second. "I'm so sorry about this," Rodriguez said, approaching the woman with her most reassuring smile while keeping a firm grip on Luna's leash. The German Shepherd continued to strain forward, her barking now replaced by intense focus and an occasional high-pitched whine, a sound Rodriguez knew meant Luna sensed something deeply wrong. "She's normally extremely well-behaved. I don't know what's gotten into her." The woman shifted the sleeping baby higher against her shoulder, her manicured hand protectively cradling the infant's head. "It's fine," she said, her voice carrying a slight tremble beneath its polished tone. "But I need to get to my gate. We've already been delayed for hours." Rodriguez noticed something odd. Despite the woman's words, she was slowly backing away, putting more distance between herself and Luna. And the baby, it hadn't moved at all, completely still, unnaturally so, even through all the loud barking. "Which flight are you catching?" Rodriguez asked, keeping her tone casual while her trained eyes picked up on subtle inconsistencies. The woman's designer luggage was scuffed in ways that didn't match normal travel wear, and though she wore a wedding ring, there was no indentation on her finger to suggest she wore it regularly. "American Airlines to Chicago, then connecting to Denver," the woman replied quickly. "Too quickly. My husband is waiting for us." Luna had shifted into a behavior pattern Rodriguez had only seen during specialized training, a rhythmic movement between focusing on the woman's face and the baby, then back again. She wasn't alerting to contraband or weapons, but to the relationship itself. "Your baby is sleeping soundly through all this," Rodriguez observed, nodding toward the infant who hadn't stirred, flinched, or reacted to the earlier barking. "How old?" "8 months," the woman answered, then immediately corrected herself. "I mean, almost 9 months now." Her free hand fluttered nervously to the designer scarf around her neck. "Please, my gate." "I understand," Rodriguez nodded, making a show of checking her watch. "American to Chicago, you said." "That's interesting because all American flights to Chicago were canceled 2 hours ago due to the storm. They made an announcement." The woman's composure cracked momentarily, her eyes widening before she regained control. "I meant United. It's been such a long day. I'm getting confused with all the changes." "Would you mind if I just check your travel documents?" Rodriguez asked, positioning herself subtly to block the nearest exit. "With all the confusion today, we're helping passengers confirm their new flight information." "That won't be necessary," the woman said. Her voice hardened as she took another step backward. "We're already late." "The baby hasn't moved at all during this entire interaction," Rodriguez observed quietly. "Not even a fidget during Luna's barking. Most babies would at least stir for the briefest moment." Something cold flickered behind the woman's eyes. "She's a good sleeper." "Ma'am, I'm going to need to see some identification and the baby's travel documents," Rodriguez said, no longer asking. "It's standard procedure when traveling with infants." Rodriguez guided the woman to a quieter area near a service corridor, away from the crowds of stranded passengers but still within view of security cameras. Luna remained in alert position, her focus unwavering as the woman awkwardly maneuvered to retrieve identification while balancing the still motionless infant. "My wallet should be right here," the woman muttered, digging through an expensive leather handbag that seemed too new to match her claimed travel history. "I'm Catherine Winters, and this is my daughter Emma." Rodriguez noted the slight hesitation before the baby's name, filing it away mentally alongside other inconsistencies. When the woman finally produced a driver's license, Rodriguez examined it carefully. Ohio license, issued 14 months ago, yet no visible wear despite supposedly being carried daily. The photo matched, but something about the holographic security features didn't catch the light quite right. "And do you have Emma's birth certificate or passport?" "All minors need identification for air travel," Rodriguez said, maintaining her professional demeanor while radioing quietly for a secondary officer to join them. "It's in my checked luggage," Catherine replied too quickly. "The airline said it wasn't necessary to keep it with me since she's an infant." Officer Dawkins arrived, a veteran with 20 years' experience who took in the situation with a quick glance at Rodriguez's subtle hand signal. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come with us to the security office where we can sort this out more comfortably," Dawkins said, with practiced authority. "Standard procedure when there are questions about documentation." The baby, Emma, if that was really her name, still hadn't moved beyond shallow breathing. No startles, no shifts in position, none of the normal fidgeting even sleeping infants typically display. Rodriguez's concern deepened. "Is there something wrong with the baby?" she asked directly, watching Catherine's reaction closely. She's just a good sleeper, Catherine repeated, but her eyes darted away. She had a long night. As they walked toward the security office, Rodriguez's mind flashed back to the case that had first revealed Luna's extraordinary abilities. Luna had been found in an apartment, a year-old German Shepherd mix standing guard over the body of a one-year-old girl. The mother lay nearby, both victims of what appeared to be a home invasion gone horribly wrong. What had shocked the responding officers wasn't just the dog's protective stance over the dead child, but her refusal to leave even days later. When animal control had finally managed to remove her, they discovered she'd sustained wounds trying to defend the family, evidence she'd fought the attackers despite being severely outmatched. Most dogs would have been considered too traumatized for service work after such an experience, but something about Luna's behavior during evaluation had caught the attention of the Canine Training Division. Her hypervigilance around children, initially considered a potential liability, was eventually recognized as an extraordinary sensitivity that could be channeled into specialized training. "I'd like to request a medical check for the baby," Rodriguez said to Dawkins, keeping her voice low. "She hasn't moved or responded normally this entire time." Catherine's composure cracked visibly. "That's ridiculous. You can't just demand to medically examine my child based on your dog's behavior. This is harassment." Luna's reaction to the woman's raised voice was telling. Rather than becoming more alert to the perceived threat as most service dogs would, she positioned herself closer to the baby, as if trying to shield the infant from the woman claiming to be her mother. "Miss Winters, we have reason for concern," Rodriguez said firmly. "The baby's lack of response to external stimuli is unusual. We're requesting a welfare check, which is within our authority when we have reasonable suspicion a minor may be in distress." The arrival of the airport medical team temporarily interrupted the questioning. As a paramedic gently examined the still unresponsive infant, Rodriguez stepped aside with Dawkins to brief him more fully on her suspicions. Luna remained positioned near the baby, her behavior now a textbook display of protective vigilance rather than alert signaling. The paramedic's voice pulled Rodriguez back to the present. "This child has been sedated," she reported with professional urgency. "Respirations are depressed, pupils sluggish. We need to get her to emergency care immediately." Catherine Winters, if that was her real name, lunged suddenly for the door, but Luna was faster, positioning herself firmly in the woman's path without aggression, but with unmistakable purpose. "Miss Winters, you're being detained pending investigation," Rodriguez stated formally as Dawkins moved to secure the increasingly agitated woman. "The infant is being taken for emergency medical evaluation, and we're going to have a lot of questions for you." Detective Harmon from Dallas PD's Special Victims Unit arrived within the hour, his weathered face grave as he reviewed the preliminary reports. "The woman's real name is Jessica Morris," he explained, showing Rodriguez a file on his tablet. "Released 3 weeks ago from Lakewood Psychiatric Hospital after a 6-month involuntary commitment." The photo matched their detainee, though in the file Jessica appeared disheveled and vacant-eyed, a stark contrast to the polished facade she'd presented at the airport. "What was she in for?" Rodriguez asked, watching as Luna maintained her vigilant position near the baby's hospital bed. "Severe postpartum psychosis following the death of her infant son from SIDS 6 months ago," Harmon replied. "She was found trying to take a baby from a grocery store parking lot, claiming it was her child. The doctors thought she was responding well to treatment, but clearly—" He gestured toward the emergency room and the baby. "Do we know who she is?" Harmon nodded. "Her name is Sophia Mills, 8 months old. Reported missing from her home in Austin yesterday. The mother is Jessica's sister, Claire Mills. She's flying in now. Should be here within the hour." Rodriguez processed this information, the pieces fitting together with grim logic. So Jessica took her sister's baby, sedated her to keep her quiet during travel, and was attempting to flee the state. That's our working theory, Harmon confirmed. Though there are still unanswered questions, Jessica doesn't drive and had no access to funds. Someone helped her get to Austin, take the baby, and make it to DFW with fake documents. Luna's ears suddenly perked up, her attention shifting toward the treatment room entrance. Rodriguez had learned to trust these subtle alerts. Her partner had detected something significant. "What is it, girl?" she murmured, following Luna's gaze to where a man in a crisp suit was speaking with the charge nurse, his hospital ID badge prominently displayed. "That's Dr. Nathan Chambers," Harmon explained, noticing Luna's reaction. "Jessica's psychiatrist from Lakewood. He called it in when he heard she'd been detained, says he's concerned about her mental state during questioning." Luna's posture had changed dramatically, the relaxed vigilance replaced by rigid alertness, the same behavior she'd displayed toward Jessica earlier. Rodriguez had worked with Luna long enough to recognize the pattern. Her partner had identified another threat. In the secure interview room, Jessica Morris looked nothing like the confident woman from the airport. Her designer clothes were rumpled, makeup smeared from crying, all pretense stripped away by the reality of her situation. "I just wanted him back," she whispered when Rodriguez entered, not looking up. "They told me he was gone, but mothers know. We always know." "You're talking about your son?" Rodriguez said gently, taking the seat across from her. "The one who died?" Jessica's gaze snapped up, suddenly fierce. "He didn't die." "That's what they want everyone to believe. Nathan showed me the truth, how they take babies from mothers they deem unfit and place them with more suitable families." Her fingers made claw-like quotation marks. "My sister's baby. She looks just like my Charlie. It can't be coincidence." "Natan?" Rodriguez prompted. "You mean Dr. Chambers?" "He understands," Jessica continued, words tumbling out faster. "He's seen it happen to other mothers too, the system declaring them unstable, taking their children, faking deaths. He helped me see that Sophia's really Charlie. They just gave him to my sister when they took him from me." Rodriguez maintained a compassionate expression while mentally connecting the disturbing dots. "And Dr. Chambers helped you get to Austin? Helped you take Sophia?" Jessica nodded, childlike trust in her eyes. He said once we were far away, he could prove it was Charlie with DNA tests, that we'd be a family again." "Did he give you the medication for Sophia? To keep her quiet during travel?" "Just baby Benadryl," Jessica said defensively. "He's a doctor. He gave me the right dose, said it would make the transition easier for Charlie, for Sophia, until she remembered me." The pieces were falling into place with sickening clarity. Rodriguez excused herself, finding Harmon in the hallway and briefing him quickly on Jessica's statements. A commotion from the pediatric unit interrupted them. Raised voices, the sound of equipment crashing to the floor. They rushed back to find hospital security attempting to restrain Dr. Chambers, who had somehow gained access to Sophia's treatment room despite protocols. Luna stood between the doctor and the infant's bed, her posture defensive but controlled, exactly as she'd been trained. "This is outrageous," Chambers shouted, his professional demeanor cracking. "I'm this child's doctor. I have every right to examine her." As security escorted Chambers from the room, Rodriguez noticed him slip something into his pocket, a small vial that glinted under the hospital lights. Luna's focused attention on that same pocket confirmed her suspicion. "Detective," Rodriguez said quietly to Harmon, "I believe Dr. Chambers just attempted to take a DNA sample from Sophia. If he's been manipulating Jessica's delusions." The surveillance footage from Jessica's room at Lakewood, obtained via emergency warrant, played on the large screen in Dallas PD's Special Victims Unit. The timestamp showed 2:14 a.m., 3 nights before Sophia's abduction. In the grainy video, Dr. Chambers sat beside Jessica's bed, speaking in low tones as he showed her something on a tablet. "He's programming her," the FBI consultant explained, pausing the footage, "using her delusions about her son to manipulate her into believing her niece is actually her child. Classic exploitation of a vulnerable subject." Claire Mills, who had been quietly providing background information while hospital staff cared for Sophia nearby, spoke up. "Jessica told me once that Nathan said he understood her pain because he'd lost a child too, a son taken by the system in an unjust custody battle." Rodriguez felt the pieces clicking together, matching the pattern Luna had somehow detected from the beginning. "He's recreating his own trauma through these women," she realized, "using them to recover what he believes was taken from him." The storage facility on the outskirts of Dallas stood stark against the fading daylight, rows of identical orange doors lining concrete corridors. Unit number 31, rented under a shell company traced back to Chambers, was secured with both a digital lock and heavy padlock. The search warrant had been expedited based on the mounting evidence, but Luna's behavior suggested whatever lay beyond that door was worse than they'd anticipated. When the lock finally yielded with a metallic click, Luna stepped back, positioning herself beside Rodriguez as if seeking reassurance before facing whatever lay within. The storage unit contained no people, no immediate threats. But what it revealed was perhaps more disturbing for its methodical organization. One wall was covered with photographs, news clippings, and medical records, all relating to infants and young children. Another held medical equipment including sedatives identical to those used on Sophia. But most disturbing was the center of the room where a nursery had been meticulously assembled: crib, changing table, rocking chair, all arranged as if waiting for a child. Luna moved carefully through the space, her training allowing her to navigate without disturbing evidence. She stopped at a filing cabinet in the corner, alerting with the specific pattern she used for documents of interest. Inside, they found what appeared to be Chambers' private case files, detailed psychological profiles of dozens of women who had lost children, all patients at various institutions where he'd worked over the years. Each file contained annotations about susceptibility to reconditioning and potential for maternal reclamation project. Luna suddenly whined and buried her face against Rodriguez's leg. The dog didn't need to see what the officers were now staring at in frozen horror: the medical-grade refrigeration unit humming in the center of the room, its glass lid frosted over, and the tiny silhouette visible beneath it. Chambers' voice shattered into something unrecognizable. "You don't understand. I was preserving him until—" The tablet clattered to the table as Rodriguez stood. Luna moved with her. The dog's muzzle wrinkled back to reveal teeth in a mirror of her handler's fury. "Your son died in custody 3 years ago," Rodriguez said, "but you couldn't accept that. So you started collecting substitutes." Outside, the storm broke. Rain lashed the windows as Chambers' breathing accelerated into hyperventilation, not from guilt, Rodriguez realized with dawning revulsion, but excitement. His pupils dilated as the body cam panned across the basement walls, revealing his true research: framed ultrasound images of strangers' babies, a shadow board with labeled syringes, and the notebook open on the desk, its latest entry reading Subject 8, EW, Seattle retrieval scheduled for June 15th. Luna's alert bark echoed off the cinderblock walls as the feed caught something worse: the empty second refrigeration unit beside the first, its power cord freshly plugged in, waiting. Always waiting. "You have no idea what you're interfering with," he said, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "These women. I'm helping them reclaim what was taken. The system destroys families, declares mothers unfit, tears children from their natural bonds. My work restores the natural order. Where is your son, Doctor Chambers? She asked quietly. The smile that spread across his face contained no warmth. Safe, beyond the reach of a system that separates families based on arbitrary standards of fitness. Each of these women, their rehearsals, preparations, learning from their failures to ensure my success. As if on cue, Rodriguez's phone buzzed with a message from the team at Chambers' residence. Hidden room located in basement. Evidence of recent childcare. No child present, but signs suggest occupied within past 48 hours. The search for Dr. Chambers' son expanded across 3 states. Over the next 72 hours, Luna worked tirelessly alongside specialized search teams, her unique abilities proving invaluable as they narrowed their focus to a remote cabin in the East Texas piney woods. The operation unfolded with practiced precision. Within 20 minutes, tactical teams had secured the cabin and its occupant, a young woman who identified herself as Andrea Wesley, a nursing student hired through a private agency to care for Dr. Mitchell's son while he was traveling for work. The boy, found sleeping peacefully in a carefully decorated bedroom, appeared healthy and well cared for. Now awake, he watched the officers with solemn eyes that seemed too old for his 5 years. "Hello?" Rodriguez said gently, kneeling to his eye level while Luna sat patiently beside her. "My name is Melissa. This is Luna." The child's focus immediately shifted to the dog, something softening in his guarded expression. "She's pretty," he said quietly. "Is she nice?" "Very nice," Rodriguez assured him. "Would you like to pet her? She's especially trained to help children feel safe." Luna moved forward with gentle precision, lowering her head to make herself less intimidating. The boy reached out hesitantly, then with more confidence when Luna responded with a soft whine of encouragement. "What's your name?" Rodriguez asked as the child stroked Luna's fur. "Ethan," he replied. "But sometimes Dad calls me Andrew, for safety." "Is my dad in trouble?" the boy asked cautiously. "Sometimes grown-ups don't tell the truth," she said gently. "But we're going to find out exactly what happened and make sure you're with people who will take very good care of you." The subsequent investigation revealed the devastating truth. Ethan's mother hadn't abandoned him at all. Christina Chambers had been fighting desperately to regain custody of her son for over 3 years, hampered by falsified psychological evaluations and manipulated court records, all orchestrated by her ex-husband, who had used his professional credentials to systematically discredit her. The reunion, when it finally happened under careful supervision at the Children's Advocacy Center, broke and mended Rodriguez's heart simultaneously. Christina fell to her knees when she saw Ethan, tears streaming down her face as she held out trembling arms. The boy hesitated, years of his father's conditioning evident in his uncertainty. Luna, still by Ethan's side, gently nudged him forward, a quiet nudge that seemed to give him the courage he needed. He took one step, then another, before finally running into his mother's embrace. "My baby!" Christina sobbed, holding him as if she might never let go. "My beautiful boy." As they watched Christina and Ethan begin the slow work of rebuilding their bond, Rodriguez thought back on the chain of events that had led them here. What began with Luna's sudden barking at an airport had unraveled a years-long web of lies and abuse, all because a traumatized dog had developed an uncanny ability to sense when parent-child relationships weren't what they seemed. "Your partner's something special," Harmon remarked, nodding toward Luna, who had settled near Ethan and his mother. "Most dogs are trained to sniff out threats, drugs, bombs, suspects. But Luna, she finds the truth. That's what trauma did for her, Rodriguez replied softly. When she couldn't save that little girl 3 years ago, something in her changed. Now she's always watching for kids in danger, always testing if the adults around them are real. A blessing from a tragedy, Harmon mused. Later that evening, as Rodriguez finished her final report, Luna dozed beside her desk, paws twitching in her sleep. The precinct had buzzed all day with news of their breakthrough. Even the chief had stopped by to praise their work. "Good girl," Rodriguez whispered as Luna's eyes flickered open, meeting hers with that sharp, knowing look before drifting shut again. "You did good." Outside, the Texas night stretched over the city, stars piercing the dark. Tomorrow would bring new cases, new fights. But for now, they'd earned their rest. Because sometimes, Rodriguez thought, watching her partner sleep, the deepest scars create the strongest healing. Not just for the rescued, but for the rescuers too. Ever wondered if animals sense things we miss? Luna and Rodriguez's story shows how our four-legged partners sometimes see truths hidden from us. Their bond, forged through trauma and healing, proves that even the deepest wounds can spark extraordinary gifts. What gives dogs like Luna their near-magical intuition? Sharp senses, emotional smarts, or something science can't yet explain? Share your thoughts below. If Luna's story moved you, hit subscribe. And turn on notifications for more incredible canine tales. From military heroes to therapy dogs who heal hearts, these stories remind us that the bond between handlers and their dogs isn't just training, it's magic.